Have you ever wondered about the representation of Indigenous peoples in the Australian government? The tale of their journey towards political inclusion is a compelling one. Our story begins around a decade ago, in 2010, when then Prime Minister Julia Gillard initiated an expert panel. This panel's task was to examine the recognition of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples in the Australian Constitution. The panel's findings set the stage for a significant proposal, the establishment of an advisory group called the Voice to Parliament. Fast forward to 2017, and the Uluru Statement from the Heart further detailed this proposal. This statement, issued by the First Nations National Constitutional Convention, called for the establishment of a First Nations voice enshrined in the Constitution. Despite these calls, the path towards constitutional change wasn't exactly smooth. The proposal faced resistance, even from within Indigenous communities. Some Indigenous senators pushed for a National Truth and Justice Commission and treaty process instead of the proposed voice. Moving into the year 2023, the Australian government announced plans for a constitutional referendum. The goal? To give Indigenous people a permanent voice in government through the proposed Voice to Parliament. This announcement marked a significant shift towards recognising the historical exclusion of Indigenous Australians from parliamentary processes. However, changing the Constitution isn't a simple task. It requires a public vote, and historically, Australians have shown hesitance towards such changes. The most successful referendum in Australia's history took place in 1967, which granted Indigenous people greater rights and received overwhelming support. Fast forward to the present, and the proposed referendum question has been unveiled. The aim is to establish a consultative committee called the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Voice. This committee would represent Indigenous views to the government and Parliament. If successful, the Constitution would acknowledge the voice and its ability to make representations on matters relating to Indigenous peoples. The Voice referendum holds significant potential implications. It could mark a turning point in Australia's history, the first acknowledgement of Indigenous people in the country's constitution. It could also serve as a catalyst for addressing the systemic disadvantages and inequalities Indigenous Australians face. Yet, the referendum also brings with it challenges. It has sparked debates about potential division along racial lines and the impact on remote Indigenous communities. The journey towards Indigenous representation in the Australian government is far from over. But the Voice referendum is undeniably a significant step in the right direction. The Voice referendum, a story of struggle, resilience, and a pursuit of recognition that continues even today.